Welcome back to my channel. So as you will have seen in my previous video of the unboxing, I have a load of new worms for which I'm very excited, and the video before that showed me taking my tower apart and resetting it to its summer setting, but with now 2 feeding trays. And as you can see, I have worms that have already come up into here and started putting castings into it, ready for mating. The thing is that oh, they're actually more moist than I thought. I didn't think there was quite enough moisture up in here, but it's actually not doing too badly. So I need to just take this top off, and so that I can get into it and let loose all these new worms, and then show you how I'm creating my new tiger worm breeding bin. So I'll be back with you in a moment. So what I've done is I've checked through these 2 layers, the 2 feeding trays, because what I noticed was this second tray I fed along this front edge, and this top tray had actually dipped down quite significantly into it. So I've checked where I fed in the trenches, and the fast food has actually gone down quite significantly because it's been about a week. So, sorry, I'm out of breath doing that. So what I've done is I've put some fast foods into there, and some of the grit that I use, which is just ground up eggshell. Can't really see that in there, but it's just ground eggshell that the worms need because they have a gizzard. And then some of the worm chow, oh my word, can't think. So when I ordered the worms, I ordered some of the food for them, and the reason that I've put extra feed in, which I normally wouldn't have done, the sweet potato in there, you can see it here, and it is starting to mush down, but they're obviously not getting to that quick enough. But because I'm about to put virtually 1 kilo of worms into here, I want them to have some good food, and obviously I don't want them over competing for food, even though, you know, they will eat the paper and cardboards and stuff, but I want them to have actual food. So I've refed. Now obviously, like I say, normally I wouldn't do that, but in this case I'm going to. So I'm about to put a huge amount of worms in here, and I will time-lapse that so you can watch them go down. And yeah, let's do that. Just one moment. Try and work out how I'm supposed to do this, because I have no idea. I'm trying to do it all one-handed. I don't have great dexterity at the best of times, let alone trying to figure out how to do this and then time-lapse it on a camera. So here goes, because they're all in here, and right, let me try and do this. So here we are. So there you go. That's pretty much all the worms going down into the top tray. They'll just take a little bit longer to get properly underneath, and whilst they're doing that, I'm going to show you my new little project. So if I just move that, I use these 42 litre buckets in the garden for growing things in, and I also use this fertiliser, chicken manure pellets, to feed everything. So I don't usually like having the plastic buckets. I prefer to buy the sacks, but I couldn't get hold of any last year, so I ended up buying a lot of these buckets. And then I'm thinking, well, what can I use them for? So I usually have one of these plastic buckets next to here for putting the trays on. I just sit them on there so that they're not flat on the floor in case any of the worms are poking through underneath. And I just happened to have one of these buckets sat inside it, and then I thought, I know what I can do. I can actually use that as a breeding bin. So since I was getting a load of new worms, instead of taking worms out of my tower, I thought, why not take some of the adult worms out of the new ones and start my own little breeding bin. And so in here I can micromanage the conditions, and hopefully I'll notice if the mice get in, because we do get mice in this outhouse because there's a gap for the drain where they get through. But because they like it a bit more damp, you can see there's a bit more water coming out of this than I'd normally run it in my actual tower. But in here I've got cocoa coir, the cardboard, and then I sifted out the finer bedding that the worms came in, so that some of them had got it in there, and then I'd got the finer stuff in here because I wanted to check whether there were any cocoons as well. There were a couple, but not many. They've gone into the tower, so that I can actually monitor if the worms are breeding in here. And I'm not putting many in because it's not a big bucket, so I don't want to crowd it and the worms don't actually want to breed. So to that end, just one moment, in here we have a tiny little ball, and there are 20 worms in here. And so we're just going to tip those in. Oh, there's always a straggler. Come on. There we go. And so now I get to watch these going down. Hopefully they shouldn't take long. And so yeah, now I'm going to have my own little breeding bin so that I can specifically manage them rather than them being in the tower. It's not that it makes a huge amount of difference, but I do want to have more of the actual tiger worms than the dendrobina. So yeah, it's actually better for me, rather than having the dendrobina, it's just better to have the tiger worms, because if the dendrobina are going to be so sensitive and what have you, then I want to be able to make sure that I can manage this tower. But also, if I decide I do want another project, it's just deciding how I get to manage to do that. And yeah, it's space that's my problem more than anything, whereas this is just something that I can do, I can have fun doing, and so I get to have this as a little sideline project. You know, I'm not going to be breeding mass scale for selling worms or anything. I just want something to play around at. But, you know, if you were wanting to breed, you know, I know people do. So, taking your cocoons out, I did that over the winter. Had my cocoons in my castings and things and let them hatch out. I've got worms all over the place, which is kind of what gave me the idea for this. But there you can see that they don't like the light, so they're very quickly going down there. And hopefully they'll be happy. I'm just going to put... Oh, sorry, I'm shaking, trying to keep hold of everything. I'm going to put a little bit of their worm chow on the top of them, and I've also got some bubble wrap to put over the top of this as well to keep the moisture in. One of the other things I was quite pleased about, because we've had 26 degrees Celsius here over this week, and it's going to be roughly the same for the next week. We've had no rain whatsoever. So I was quite pleased that the temperature in this tower was really cool. So that was nice. I've not had to actually put any frozen water bottles or anything in it. I've been able to actually keep inside here quite cool. So there we go. I won't bore you waiting for those little stragglers to go down. I'm going to feed them and cover them. So I'm going to leave it there. And now I'll have another little project to update you on. And so hope you find this interesting. And thank you for watching and bearing with me, because, you know, I do struggle doing all this, but hopefully the more I do it, the more I'll get used to doing it. The more adept I'll get at doing it. So, yeah, thank you for watching. And check on how these ones are doing. Yeah, they're going down nicely as well. And so I hope you like, subscribe and share, because that will help me immensely. And if you're breeding yourself, do let me know down in the comments. Let me know what system you're using and how you're getting on, because that's always great. I enjoy watching everybody else and what they're doing. And bye for now. Thank you.